Hello, dear one. Welcome. You've arrived at just the right time. It's time to let the day soften and settle. Let your breath slow. Feel the comfort of the pillow beneath your head. And the weight of the blanket resting over your body like a warm, gentle hug from the past. Let your shoulders fall, let the corners of your eyes grow heavy. And your thoughts float like flour through still air. In this quiet moment, you don't need to do anything. Just listen, softly, calmly. As your breathing begins to match the rhythm of a simpler time. Far from the noise of today. Far from bright lights and hurried steps. Let your mind walk down a cobbled path, damp with morning mist. Past ivy-covered stone walls and chimneys sighing smoke into the sky. Let's step together. Into the hush of a small medieval village, still curled in slumber. Where the first to stir is not a rooster, but a baker. And the world is warmed by the watchful heart of a hearth. Take a breath now. And when you're ready, our story begins. Our story today begins, in a village where time moves slowly. Where thatch-roofed cottages lean kindly into each other. And stone-paved streets remember every footstep. The sun has not yet crept over the hills. The stars still linger above like pale seeds waiting to bloom into dawn. But one window glows gently, soft golden light, flickering through oiled parchment panes. The baker is awake. His name is Aldrich. And though no bell tolls for him, he has always risen with a sense that the dough knows when it is loved early. He sits on a small stool beside a round, domed oven. Its bricks warm from the coals left humming through the night. This oven, older than the baker himself, once belonged to his grandmother's grandmother. It is said that the warmth of hands lives in the stone. And that good bread remembers who watches over it. Aldrich moves slowly, deliberately. He lights a beeswax candle. Its scent faintly sweet, its flame dancing in the hush. He draws flour from a wooden bin. Whispers a quiet greeting to the grain. A custom his family has always kept. Grain is a gift, his grandmother used to say. And gifts must be thanked with soft voices. The flour floats like powdered snow as he pours it into a bowl. A trickle of spring water, cool as moonlight. A pinch of salt from the coast, traded for cheese just last week. And finally, the yeast. A mother starter, alive for generations. Fed daily, like a beloved pet, or a friend. Aldrich stirs gently. The mixture thickens. His hands press and fold, press and fold. The rhythm steady. Like the slow breathing of a sleeper. And as he kneads, he watches. He watches closely, with kind eyes. Because in the old books, those passed from scribe to scribe, it was written that bread would not rise properly unless someone watched over it. Not just looked at it, but truly watched. With warmth. With care. As though the dough could feel it. Some laughed at this notion. But not Aldrich. He had seen loaves rise better when he stayed near. When he hummed. When he whispered a blessing from memory. And so, this dawn, like all others, he kneads and watches. In the warm glow of the oven. As tiny bubbles begin to form inside the soft belly of the dough. As if it is breathing back. Outside, the village is silent. Chickens shift softly on their perches. Foxes curl deeper into their dens. And somewhere far off, a church bell hangs in stillness. Not yet stirred for matins. But inside the bakery, the world is gently alive. The hearth glows, not fierce and blazing. But mellow, patient, and deep. Its fire is not fed with haste. But with small bundles of alder and applewood. Which smell faintly of fruit and smoke when warmed. There is a ritual to the hearth. In medieval times, it was the soul of the home. And in some places, laws protected it. To let a hearth go cold in winter was nearly a crime. Aldrich's hearth has never gone out. Not in 50 years. Even when he traveled, even when he was sick. Someone always stayed behind to feed the flame. Tonight, as the dough rests beneath a linen cloth, Aldrich places a carved stone near the oven's mouth. It's old, smooth, rounded from generations of holding heat. He sets it there, not for function, but tradition. This stone belonged to the first baker of the village. A man named Theon who believed ovens could listen. He would press a thumbprint into the stone each morning and whisper what kind of bread he hoped to bake. Aldrich does the same. Thumb pressed to stone. Words hushed and half-formed. Be kind, and rise well. There's something deeply soothing about baking, not as work, but as quiet prayer. A rhythm. A heartbeat. The dough will rise slowly. Yeast, after all, is patient. And in this time, the baker prepares wooden trays. Brushes them lightly with oil. He lines them with dried leaves, fig, sometimes chestnut. Not only for softness, but because the elders say the leaves protect the crust from bad spirits and bitterness. As the dough rises, Aldrich opens a creaking cupboard. Inside, rest scrolls and scraps of parchment. Old recipes, faded with time, ink smudged from years of flour-dusted fingers. One is written in his great-grandmother's hand. The script curls like ivy around the edges. Use spring water only. Do not bake on saints' feast eves. Knead with clean thoughts, or the bread will harden. He chuckles softly at the last line. But even so, he honors it. Because in this village, there is power in small beliefs. Superstitions linger not to scare, but to comfort. To remind the baker that he is part of something long and warm and steady. That he is not the first, nor the last, to rise before the world does. He takes out a tiny pot of honey, thick and golden. Not for sweetness in the bread, but for a glaze across the crust, done at the very end. His grandmother used to say it sealed in dreams, and made the bread soft enough to calm angry hearts. Outside the window, the stars are fading. One by one, they bow away into the lightning sky. Soon, the village will stir. The cooper will shuffle to his shed. The blacksmith's apprentice will fan coals into a faint glow. And children will blink into morning as mothers tie laces. But for now, all is quiet. Only the bread. And the breath of the fire. Aldrich checks the dough. It has puffed slightly beneath its linen cover. He presses it with 2 fingers. It sighs and springs back slowly. Perfect. He lifts the dough with practiced care. Places it into a wooden proofing bowl lined with woven flax. It will rest again. It must not be rushed. And in this resting time, the baker stirs another bowl. Not of ingredients, but of memories. He thinks of his mother's hands, floured and cracked from winters long gone. Of how she sang softly when she baked. A song in a language no longer spoken aloud. One passed down only in kitchens. He thinks of the village children. How they run in, cheeks red from frost, to steal warm rolls when no one's looking. He always lets them. Because bread is not just food here. It is offering. It is peace. In medieval villages, bread was sacred. It was used to sign deals, to seal marriages, to feed the sick and thank the saints. There was even a time when loaves were baked in shapes of animals or suns. Charms, almost, to protect the home. Aldrich once shaped a loaf like a fox. For a child who had lost her pet. She hugged it as if it breathed. And slept peacefully with it beside her pillow. The baker smiles now at that memory. Warmth like rising dough beneath his ribs. He checks the hearth again. The coals have softened to red. He brushes ashes gently aside, revealing the stone floor beneath. Soon, the bread will enter this quiet chamber. Not a metal oven, but earth and fire and stone. The dough has risen again. High and round, like a full moon resting in cloth. Aldrich dusts a peel with flour. Slides the dough onto its flat wooden face. And scores it softly with a curved blade. 3 lines. 1 for body. 1 for heart. 1 for home. This too, is tradition. Not just for beauty, but to release steam in a kind way. So the bread does not crack in anger. He opens the hearth mouth with a curved iron hook. The oven breathes out warmth. Not a blast, but a soft, enveloping sigh. He slides the bread in. Slowly. Gently. As if tucking it in. Then he closes the door. And waits. This is the watchful hour. And so he sits beside the fire. Knees drawn close. Fingers warm from steam and ash. The room smells of wood smoke and yeast. A deep, ancient scent. Like something that has always existed. And always will. He doesn't speak during the bake. Only listens. In medieval times, it was believed that loud voices could upset the bread. So, bakers whispered. Or said nothing at all. In this silence, time thickens. It does not tick. It stretches. Soft and golden. The baker leans his head back. Watches the firelight flicker on the beams above. He breathes slowly. In. Out. As the bread rises. As the crust forms. As scent fills the air. Slowly, softly, completely. The scent begins to change. What was soft and yeasty becomes rich and golden. The smell of crust forming. Of sugar caramelizing along edges. Of something ancient being made new again. Aldrich rises slowly. No rush. Only reverence. He lifts the hearth's iron door and peers inside. The bread is ready. It sings in tiny crackles. A quiet music of heat and grain and air escaping crust. He draws the loaf out. Steam rising like morning mist off the river. Its surface is browned. Not perfect, but beautiful. The score marks have bloomed open, revealing soft hints of the warm heart inside. He places it on a wooden board near the window. Lets it cool beside the candle's last flickers. And he watches. Because even now, bread must still be watched. Even as it rests. Even as it becomes real. Real and round and whole. In some villages, people believed bread could carry emotion. If it was baked with sadness, it could turn bitter. But if it was baked with patience and with hope, it would hold those feelings, too. Aldrich touches the crust lightly. It hums with stored warmth. He will not cut it yet. That comes later. For now, the bread is whole. And in its silence, it speaks more than words ever could. Outside, the village begins to wake. A cart rolls over cobblestone. Chickens cluck into morning. And the first notes of a flute drift down from the hill near the shepherd's hut. Aldrich pours tea into a clay cup. Not for energy, but for ritual. A way to greet the light. He places the loaf on the shelf by the open door. Not to sell, but to share. In the old ways, bread was left out for travelers. 1 loaf each week, free to whoever needed it most. No questions. Just trust. He remembers the story of a knight who once came by in winter. Face pale, armor rusting. He had taken the loaf, left no coin. But the next spring, returned with seeds for the village garden. Not every bread has a cost. Some just have meaning. Children begin to pass, eyes peeking through the doorway. He winks. And cuts a small slice from an older loaf on the table. It's still warm. Steam curls in the cool air. He hands it through the window. One child takes it with both hands. Bows her head before skipping away. Aldrich smiles, closing the shutters halfway. He returns to his stool. Takes one last sip of his tea. And rests his hands on his knees. The fire has faded to soft embers. The dough bowl is empty. The flour bin half full. Tomorrow. He will rise again. Before the sun. Before the world. To knead, to watch, to wait. To make warmth from grain. Because the hearth is sacred. And the bread remembers. And now, dear one. Let your breath move as gently as the rising dough. Let your thoughts soften like flour in warm water. Let the hush of firelight settle across your shoulders. You've walked through a village before dawn. Sat beside a baker's fire. Felt the hush of centuries in a loaf of bread. And just like the dough, you are watched over. With kind eyes. And patient hands. Even here, even now. In this moment of rest. So sleep. Like a loaf in its linen cradle. Like embers behind a stone hearth. Like stars fading into a soft blue sky. Good night, gentle one. And may your dreams rise well. Watched by warmth. And kept by quiet things.